I love living in Massachusetts, but sometimes I absolutely hate it. Here are the brutal truths that no one talks about. Number one, narrow streets. Okay, this is my personal rant. The government wants to encourage more people to bike, and I get that, but they're forgetting a few things. Number one, the weather, the frozen roads, the cold rain, and everything. It's not conducive to biking. Number two, the distances. For example, if you're working in Boston and you have to commute from one of the suburbs, it's 40 minutes, let's say, of biking. You will get to work drenched in sweat, and not every employer will be happy about that. And number three is we have a lot of senior citizens, baby boomers, who are maybe not willing to bike to grocery store to get their groceries. The negative part of that is also that the two-lane streets have become one-lane street to make room for the bike lanes. That made the traffic much worse. So instead of going the other way, creating public transportation, more options for the residents to take public transportation to make Boston a greener place, they actually made the traffic worse and made it more congested. I'm not sure if they had that in mind. So I'm very happy for the bikers. Don't get me wrong, don't hate me for saying this, but the traffic has become a nightmare. Again, not everyone would like to bike. So even though I understand that the recent numbers say that more people are biking in Boston, which I'm very happy about, it's a sport and also it keeps the air pollution down, but not everyone can bike. And that brings me to point number two. But before I do that, my name is Nune. I'm a real estate agent in Massachusetts. If you're moving here and need help, I'm always happy to help you and answer any questions. Number two is congestion. So if you live anywhere in the eastern part of Massachusetts, you don't need a study to tell you that we are very congested. You go to the grocery store, it seems like half of the town is there. You go drive to work or do something else, you're driving on a highway, it's like a parking lot. It's very congested. Everyone seems like, compared to pre-pandemic, the traffic seems to be much worse. And it's not just a feeling. The data backs that up. MassDOT itself said that a lot of our major roadways in eastern Massachusetts are basically running at full capacity every single day. And even something as small as a fender bender or a little bit of rain can make the highways into parking lots. Boston also keeps earning its reputation for awful traffic. One report ranked us as fourth worst in the United States and even eighth worst in the world, which is insane when you think about the small metro area of Boston. You got cities like Los Angeles, London, and New York before Boston, and the small city is fourth. And even though some studies claim commuting times are technically down a few percentage points from pre-COVID, drivers are saying the opposite, that it actually feels worse. People are driving more now before the pandemic because they bought houses in suburbs instead of they don't live in condos in Boston. Anyway, that's a long story. One study said Boston drivers lose around 88 hours a year sitting in traffic. That's more than 2 full work weeks of your life just wasted in a car. And of course, a big part of the congestion problem connects right back to Massachusetts housing costs. The closer you get to Boston, the more outrageously expensive the housing gets. So what happens? People move further out to commuter towns, more rural areas. Now they have to drive to Boston. So the roads fill up and the commute times stretch out. Some bosses will even let people go early to avoid the traffic. But when you get home, to jump back and to work virtually. Number three, Massachusetts is losing population, at least on paper. In 2023, about 145,000 people moved into Massachusetts from other states and 184,500 moved out, which means net loss of about 39,500 people. So yes, more people are leaving Massachusetts than moving in from other states. But here's the part that surprises people. When you drive around, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the population is growing. In fact, more traffic, more congestion. So what's the reason for that? It's international migration. People are moving to Massachusetts from other countries, and there are a few reasons for that. One, is they study at our universities, they work in tech, healthcare, biotech, or academia, or they reunite with their family, or because they are arriving as refugees. It attracts a lot of newcomers into the state, and so it offsets the domestic loss. Meanwhile, many of the people leaving are younger adults chasing a lower cost of living in states like Florida, New Hampshire, North Carolina, or Texas. If not for steady growth from international migration, Massachusetts would have lost a lot of people throughout the years. It helps us be more stable. The weather. And if you live here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For me, winter starts when the temperatures drop below 40 degrees. And that usually happens end of October, around Halloween time. From there, you're basically locked in until mid-March. That's almost 5 months of cold. And the pattern is always the same. Thinking that in mid-January, oh, this year seems to be better. We didn't have much snowstorms, maybe one, and then suddenly, boom, the snowstorms start. That's how the last few years have been. Instead of traditional snowstorms, we also started to get cold rains, which is very annoying to me because I would rather have a snow, which is beautiful, than a rain. Now, don't get me wrong, I love snow when it's Christmas time. A few weeks after Christmas, it's also fine, like first half of January or maybe end of January, and then stop. But that's not how it works here. A lot of times it starts mid-January and goes until March, sometimes until April. So the spring here is very short. So you have winter, and then in March suddenly from cold weather it goes to very hot weather, and people are wearing shorts and going to the beach, and then back to cold weather, and then back to the warm weather. And before you know it, it's over. Spring is over. The summer starts and it's usually warm, it's beautiful, but then about 2 months it gets really hot and really humid, so you need air conditioning. We used to have only, window air conditioning units. We didn't feel the need, but now it's a must to have central air conditioning. Now, for the winter, if you are not going skiing, if you're not doing outdoor sports, you will be depressed. Don't think about it that, oh, I'm gonna weather the storm, I'm gonna sit home, read a book, enjoy the weather inside. That's not gonna happen. That's a surefire way to get to depression. Now, the fall is the payoff. Fall is beautiful, and most people's favorite season for a reason. It's the beautiful different colors of the trees and leaf peeping and all that happens. It's great. The fall starts like beginning of September until end of October. For the summers, it used to be that we would get only 90 degrees once or twice. Now it's more common. Summers are getting a little hotter, but nothing compared to Texas or any of those hot states. So the long winter is the major problem, especially because it gets dark a little earlier, like 4:30, it's already dark. You can go nuts. So make sure, if you're moving here, make sure to embrace the winter sports. Another reason, it's super expensive here. And I don't just mean housing, I mean everything. Groceries, daycare costs, clothing, eating out, kids' activities, you name it. Massachusetts consistently ranks as one of the top most expensive states in the entire country. And honestly, we feel it. And then you get to real estate. And Massachusetts has been sitting comfortably in the top 3 most expensive housing markets in the US for years. It's not a surprise. Every year, every time a new ranking comes out, we're right up there with California and Hawaii. You need a huge income just to afford a decent house in a decent school district, and forget something close to Boston, then you really need some serious money. So yes, the state is expensive, and it's not getting better. The state even tried to fix the housing problem by passing the MBTA Communities Act in 2021, a law that basically forces cities and towns near MBTA transit lines to create by right multifamily zoning, so change of zoning. Some towns fought very hard against it, but it's the law. The whole idea was to boost housing supply to commuter towns and take some pressure off prices. But the law doesn't say they have to be affordable units. So what happens is the builders are building high-end apartments in luxury style units, which doesn't do much for the people who are already struggling with the cost of living. So hopefully that will put some downward pressure on the housing prices. Next is entertainment. Honestly, it sometimes feels like there just aren't enough entertainment options. And I know we're not New York City for sure, and we're not San Francisco. We're not packed with millions of people stacked on top of each other. Boston is so small compared to those giants, and because of that, we simply don't have the same level of consistent entertainment, nightlife, and cultural events that these cities live on. A lot of people I know actually plan day trips to New York City just to see a Broadway show, an opera, or a big production because the variety there is unmatched. Meanwhile, here in Massachusetts, it's not like we have nothing. Boston does get tons of high big name artists and touring acts. City Garden, the Buck Center, the House of Blues, they get big performers. But the problem is never the show itself. The problem is everything else around it. Basically, it is a mission to get to these venues between the traffic, the congestion, and the cost of parking, which can run you $40, $50, even $70 for the event nights near the garden, for example. It makes you think twice about going out regularly. And that's not just me saying it. Local reporting keeps pointing out how Boston's event night parking rates are among the highest in the major US cities, especially around the North Station and Seaport area. Even if the ticket price isn't bad, the entire ordeal becomes a huge thing before you even sit down. And nightlife, let's be honest, Massachusetts is very conservative about nightlife. Bars close at 2 a.m. And from what my kids tell me, the good options are limited. This is one of the few major metro areas in the country where there is still a real debate about keeping the bars open past 2 a.m. In 2024, Boston officials were literally discussing extending last call to boost tourism. That's how behind we are compared to other cities that run 24/7. So if you're someone who loves late night energy, spontaneous outings, Massachusetts feels small and a little sleepy. So yes, Massachusetts has culture, museums, and sports, very important, and restaurants. But if you want endless options and big shows and spontaneous fun, it's a little bit limited, in my opinion. So especially if you've lived in big, energetic cities, you'll be disappointed here. People can be rude and cold. Well, actually, that's not what I'm saying. That's what I hear from other people. I've never lived in anywhere in the United States that was not Massachusetts, so I cannot compare with other states. Comparing to my old country, there's no comparison. People in my old country were very warm and talkative, but those two worlds are very different, so I'm not even comparing. People that come from other states sometimes say that people in Massachusetts are, keeping their lane, they're not very talkative, it's not very easy to make friends here, and I hear it. I totally understand. There's a certain tension in the air here, especially around Boston and in Boston. Maybe it's the traffic, maybe it's the pace of life, maybe it's the weather. I'm not sure. Whatever it is, people are a little bit more on edge. And when you talk about Boston drivers, that one I can confidently agree with. Boston drivers are impatient, aggressive, and sometimes just straight up rude, cutting people off, honking the second the light turns green. You see it all the time. There's a reason national surveyors consistently rank Massachusetts drivers among the worst in America. Even insurance companies factor this in because the rate of aggressive driving incidents here is higher than many other states. But even outside of driving, people here tend to keep to themselves. Most aren't very talkative, and they don't go out of their way to make small talk with strangers. So if you are a person who wants to make friends really fast, make friends with salespeople. Those are the people who are very talkative and friendly. You don't have to buy anything from them. You just can become friends with them. So listen, it's not all bad. Massachusetts has a lot of amazing things going for it, and there are plenty of reasons people love living here, including me. If you want to hear the positive side, the schools, the jobs, the lifestyle, the parts that make this place truly special, make sure you watch the next video.